Oh, what's up, demons and demons? Tis I, a Traxy Demon King. And today we are talking about Fairy Tail. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. Specifically, we're going to talk about Natsu with the collab. Alright. So here he is, Natsu, Fire Dragon Slayer. So let's take a look at his kit. Right. So he works in a way kind of like Dunlinger in that he has two modes. He has a Lightning of Fire Dragon mode and a Fire Dragon King mode. Now he has these different modes because in the anime, forgive me, I didn't read the manga, but in the anime, he learns to eat different types of magics, right? So while he is primarily a fire mage, at some point he fights this guy called Alaxis, who is a lightning dragon slayer, and he learns to eat his magic, so that's why he has a lightning fire dragon mode. As you can see, this is the ult ability. It does less in a lightning fire dragon mode, but it does do a stun for 30 seconds, and it does an insane amount of damage in fire dragon king mode. So he's just going to nuke enemies with this. As for his skill 1, in a lightning dragon mode, he's going to deal some damage, and he's going to do a haste debuff, similar to the aging arrow that Bonnie has. However, this diminishes over 5 seconds. In Fire Dragon King mode, he will do a percentage HP damage and will knock the enemy down for a half a second. Then damage can exceed 1000 of his attack, right? So that's your percentage health. It's not as good as I thought. Fiery Ties, this skill triggers once per battle. After the first defeat of an ally fueled by rage, he gets a, so whenever somebody dies, he gets a buff. If it's Lucy that dies, he gets crit and crit damage boost a little bit. Alright, hero focus in lightning dragon mode, he gets haste. In fire dragon king mode, he gets extra attack. Alright, his EX weapon, when Natsu deals damage, he reduces the target's max HP by 40% of the actual damage dealt. This has, it can't exceed 800% of his attack, right? So, on stages, it's a lot more prevalent than, like, Shamira, because Shamira has the same ability. It has a much higher cap. I think he's going to be better when it comes to, lower to mid-tier pushing, but we'll take a look at some stages in a second. And then Enhanced Force, when Natsu causes an HP loss to an enemy by normal attacks, he burns them. So they get a dot, right? Alright, so that's kind of his abilities. Now we're gonna kind of like, we'll take a look at him in stages, and we're gonna talk about some of the stuff that goes on. So I don't know if this is going to be a good stage for him or not. We're kind of limited in what we can run. Maybe we'll try and run him with this squad here. When it comes to actually running him, I haven't really found much use for Lightning Dragon, so I've always been running a Fire King. It's been the better one for PvE and PvP content. So let's just hit a battle, and we'll kind of like take a look, and we'll just see how it goes. We probably wanted to delay the ult so that that would be always grouped up, so he would hit them as many as possible. Now, at this deficit, we may not get to see the HP loss. And as you can see, the damage just isn't probably there. We probably need to manual air in here. So I'll go ahead and I'll do that. Because you can start to see that the great tick there. Yeah, so we want to get them all grouped up. So again, that way they can all get hit by his ability. We're just going to speed things up here. So you can see his Fire Dragon's Roar. Not as impressive as I would have liked. It has a big number. but in stages he struggles. Now I did run him with Mystic Charms. I think you can go with that, or you can go with Sword Charms. I just like the extra haste on him because I want him to attack as much as possible. Now I did have a stage where he did fight a Salazar, and he knocked Salazar's health bar down to almost nothing with his reduction. So if an enemy tried to heal, you know, that's why I could see him being good at a lower tier. We may have had better luck had we just manualed this from the beginning, but we can at least kind of like take a look at his damage. Alright, so you can see he does do a decent damage on stages. It's that we just probably needed to manual him to get everybody grouped up initially at the beginning. I think he's pretty decent for stages. One of the issues I have with the talent side of things is that the dimensionals don't count toward your factions. So even on like the regular side of things right here, like we're not getting the faction bonus, right? So I tried putting him with like a Lucy here. We do get a faction bonus, right? Because we do have the Celestial Hypos in here to kind of complete the theory. But yeah, they're not gonna be able to beat this stage with this squad, so we're just not gonna even bother trying. It's just important that you gotta remember just to toggle him every time, because he just defaults, kind of like how Dunlinger defaults to the 1, he defaults to lightning. I wish it was the other way around, but that's just the way it is because Fire Dragon mode is better. So stages are kind of mixed. I was a little disappointed when it came out of the Dream Realm, and we can look at some of these different comps that I tried with him. It's just that the damage just isn't there. So if we look at here, we did like a 102. See his overall damage number. Even with the percentage HP damage, it just isn't there. I think that could be like a case issue. He might need a lot more buffing. The problem is that Harak is just so good right now, and like Taileen is just so good on Plague Creeper. You know, I thought maybe he could work with Shamira. Shamira does great damage on this boss, but then everybody else around her struggles. So I thought maybe she needed that like melee type hero to maybe work here and would be better. But no, the damage just isn't there like I thought it would be. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be bad overall for Dream Realm. It's just that he's not really viable for at least Plague Creeper and Endless. I don't know that he's going to manage to sneak into any other bosses. So that's kind of like as like an ultimate determinant. Let's go ahead. We can take a look at some stuff in Arena here. I did do some attacks here on, lower ranked teams. We did run with a Lucy. He did get out damaged by Lucy. He gets out damaged by Siren. Again, this is a quick fight, so we're blowing through these enemies pretty soundly. Now you can see here when they were up against Paragon, a couple Paragon 3 heroes, he did manage to do good damage. So I think he is viable for, he's certainly nice to have for PvP. I just don't think he's like a world beater. As you can see here, he gets out damaged easily by Athalia. So one of the things, and we can go and we'll look at some friendly adult stuff as well, just to kind of get like another perspective on him for a PvP. So here we go. So we ran him with Athalia against this team. I believe, yeah, this is on Arena 2. So this is going to highlight, I think, one of the issues that we're going to have with Natsu. So as you can see, he takes forever to get over to the enemy. That's one thing. He's slow. But when he does ult, he does do a crap ton of damage. So it really just depends what map and how you place him. The other thing I will mention is he can struggle in the current meta. So right there, so there we won, but we can take a look at some other ones. Alright, so here, he doesn't do anything. They use the conceal tiles, and he really struggles here. We can see like what he just kind of gets deleted. because he gets popped out of the conceal tile, and so you see he does nothing. He comes out, he can't ult, and then he just gets deleted, right? So he struggles there. We can take a look here. We lost. Again, we went with more of like a conceal against, again, this is my favorite Vanguard team. And we'll just see how he kind of like works here on map 3. See, the problem is, you see he's standing back here. He finally gets up there. He gets countered, right? And then he just gets burned down and he's just dead. So is he good for, I think he's good for the seasonal content. I just think he struggles in certain areas. But in Supreme Arena, you need 3 teams. So he's definitely somebody you could rock on one of your teams. If you don't have one of the premium units and you are kind of looking for that really good option. Is he better than Lenya? Well, I mean, we saw where he kind of struggled against the Lenya squad there, whereas like in full conceal, you know, you can't run full conceal with him. Yeah, so here, you know, we ran him, we kind of just shut this team down with Dunlinger. So, and then Athalia does all the damage, right? So just getting ordered kind of messes him up. We even gave him that, but the problem is he runs over here, he runs into Ludovic's flower bed, and he gets stunned. So I think he's good for Supreme Arena. He's just not great, right? He has the typical melee struggles, but if you can get him off to deal damage, his damage is going to be really, really good. Now, I think he has potential for Dream Realm, just pretty endless. Just because of his damage numbers. I think we'll just see him get used or end up being in the squad for a Dauntless, because if we go to a Ravaged Realm, we can see that Natsu is going to be here. So we're definitely going to use Athalia here for sure. I believe we're going to use Natsu and then Odie, and those are going to be our big boss killers. Why? Because with our Dauntless squad, the only real boss killer we have when it comes to Mauler is still right now Odie, right? So it's probably going to run, maybe we'll run something with like Shakir, Athalia, Natsu, so Makola, right? All heroes that can kind of benefit from that melee ability. That's really going to help out. Maybe when we throw in like a Citrana in there, not 100% sure. We'll find out, you know, obviously in a day from now, whether he's good there. But again, we have limited options, so I think we'll definitely see him there. So the other thing is like maybe on the other side, then we would use our Odie, maybe like a Coco and an Alsa on the other side. So right, so he has some potential there for damage. Again, you know, as far as other game modes go, I haven't really bothered testing him in Arcane Labs. Don't really care about that one too much. Don't really know how he plays out in Duras here. We can't get into it to see. So it's not really a concern there. Heroic Gauntlet, I already have it solved. Don't really need him for there. Yeah, so I think he's a pretty solid unit. Is he a must-have? I don't think he's a must-have at this point. I just think he's a nice-to-have, right? So he's in that mid-tier. I was, to be honest, in my opinion, I was a little underwhelmed. I expected a little bit more out of the collab heroes, just because we didn't really get that great hero out of the banners this season. We didn't really get that Bonnie level hero. We didn't get that Lily May level hero. We didn't get that Makola Sonya. We didn't get that hero. I think the closest thing we got was Shamira and maybe Faramore, but Faramore is kind of like very limited in his use. And then again, we had the twins, so I just had higher expectations for Natsu. I think had his skill 2 been a little bit quicker, but it has a 12-second cooldown. That's the problem, right? So if this skill had maybe like a 4-second cooldown or a 6-second cooldown, I think we would have been better off, because then we would have gotten much more use out of this percentage here, and he would have been a viable melee hero for Dream Realm, but he's not. It's still going to be Harak and Ludovic and all those guys, so that was a little disappointing there. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!